Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free, impartial advice on all your debt.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
So obviously with Team GB, we've just come over to spar with the national team, basically, US national team. It's been a difficult one, obviously, with the COVID going the situation. Like I didn't realize how bad it was here in America. We're in San Diego, obviously California. It's completely different over here, compared to back home. They're very, 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 very serious about it, and which is understandable. With the numbers they've got, I think last week they had something like 20,000 cases. So it's understandable, why they're taking it so serious. But we come over to spar with with like I said, the national team, which is great. But obviously with the coronavirus pandemic going on, it's just been difficult. They haven't got full numbers. We haven't got full numbers. But, we've made the best of bad situations.
And this is all in prep for the Olympics. I mean, that's still in the pipeline for you, and the last 12 months haven't changed anything. Or have you had a little mindset where you thought, let's roll the dice and turn over?
Yeah, 100%. I can tell you, like, after March, April, May, I was set on, I'm going to turn professional. I was having calls to different people and, wanting to speak to different promoters and managers and whatnot. And then, obviously after speaking to, people back, involved in GB boxing, I sort of thought, I've been in this system a long time. I've waited for another 4 years. It'd be a shame to throw it away, for the sake of 12 months. But yeah, when you see what's out there in the pro game, and that's what I love watching, and I think I'll be definitely better suited to it. So you just naturally want to dive in, but at the same time, the Olympics is something I've waited for a long time, and I think I've got to do justice to myself by giving it 100%. We've got to qualify first, which is going to be difficult in itself, and that'll be in April. So from the new year, we'll be working towards that.
Yeah, because you say you had turnover. You might be sitting in the position you're in now, 2-0, and you really think, what would you have gained perhaps over the last 12 months as a pro that you can't gain in double time when there's more shows, etc. in the next 12? Does that make sense? You'd be sitting there as a 2-0 pro.
There's a lot of things you have to think about. I mean, was it the right time? Don't get me wrong, the heavyweight division is booming, but I've always dreamt of this. Don't get me wrong, things don't always go as you want them to go, but I don't want to box behind closed doors. You know what I mean? I've done that in hundreds of different countries around the world with no fans there for years. You know what I mean? I want to be in arenas and with good atmospheres and interacting with people. That's what I'm about. I like to entertain people, and I want to enjoy that. My days of boxing in front of limited numbers of people, they're coming to an end.
Does it put a big pressure on what happens at the Olympics for you? Say, obviously, qualifying goes smoothly. I believe what is at the Copper Box, you have a smooth week there. Olympic team, does it put pressure on you for the summer when you talk about, you might have wanted to turn professional, spoke to certain managers, promoters, there were little bits here and there. Does it put massive pressure on you in the summer, do you think?
Not really. I think the pressure's already on. The way they build fighters up now. You've been on Team GB. For as long as I have, and you've been involved with Joshua. You've been around the game a long time. Quite a lot of people know who I am. A few people have seen me in action. I think the pressure's already there, to be honest. I put pressure on myself all the time, because I talk about what I'm going to do, what I want to do, and I'm confident in myself. Going into the pros, I'm really confident that. Don't get me wrong. I know for me it's a different game. I've got to learn a new set of skills and just add them to the skills that I've already got. But I'm very confident in doing that. So the pressure is already on. Like I say, now, to be honest, I think everyone puts pressure on themselves. I mean, some people box for England once or twice, and then, you know, when it comes to the pros, they're announcers, or they've been on Team GB, gone to a handful of Mickey Mouse tournaments, and they're announced as former GB boxer, or former, you know, when I hear the word, top class amateur, elite level, I can tell you who's been elite level, and I can tell you who wasn't. I can tell you who's been on the squad. It's an amazing achievement, but, you know, I feel like the pressure with them few words when you're being announced now is going to be big, no matter what you do, whether it's Olympics or not. You know, people just see Team GB as being, you know, top of the tree. When I know really and truly, there's only a handful of people that do turn over that have been to the top of the tree. You know, your Worlds, your Olympics, Europeans and stuff. So the pressure's going to be there either way.
Yeah, because you talk about being known, and I look at the likes of Ben Whittaker, and then I see Carl and Ben Fail. There's always a bit of buzz when these people turn pro. What can they achieve? But I feel like you're that one person where you turning pro is perhaps, I'm trying to think of how to word this actually, like you're the one amateur that people are perhaps looking forward to most, and there's been most talk about the turning pro as well. So I suppose there is a platform there. It's not like you're going into the pro game as an unknown. So I do get what you're saying from that perspective. A lot of people are excited about you turning pro.
Yeah, you know, obviously after the Commonwealth Games and, you know, all the years of sparring with Joshua, people are naturally going to be interested. You know, as soon as, you know, you put a picture up on your Instagram, which I do with everyone, not just Joshua, and people see you sparring with Joshua, people want to know, oh, how's it gone? You know, people asking all the time, oh, compare yourself to him. How'd the spars go? And I always tell people one thing: sparring, fighting. It's a completely different thing. So don't get me wrong, I'm not getting ahead of myself and saying, you know, I'm going to be the best thing since sliced bread. I know I've got a lot to learn. It's a professional boxing, different sport. But what I will tell everyone is that I'm going to be 100% in it. You know, I'll give my all. I'll get the right team around me, the right people around me, and give myself every chance. You know, going to where I want to go to, and that's obviously to be a world champion.
Yeah, you always got your eye on some of the pro guys as well. I think it was, what was the fight week? It might have been Babic. I think he put a little statement out of his win over Tom Little or whatever, and I think you put on Twitter, I can't wait to punch holes in these guys' heads or whatever. I don't know if that was aimed directly at Babic, but I suppose that tier of heavyweights you're already looking at thinking, when I turn over, I'm going to be a bit rushed compared to your normal amateur, but you're looking at the guys like Babic, perhaps, I know, Fabio Wardley and those guys already.
Yeah, you know, it's no disrespect to them, but, you know, how can I put it? You know, when I don't know what these guys are doing, what these guys are earning, but, you know, I'm sitting at home, you know, as like I say, an amateur boxer, wanting to go to the Olympics, and I don't like to look too far ahead because, you know, the Olympics is my first goal, but I know in my heart of hearts, eventually, that's where I want to be. Do you know what I mean? And I know with my abilities at the minute, without being, you know, in a pro gym, we've being taught the new skills. I know that I'm at a level where I could compete with these guys quite comfortably. You know, and that's just in my heart and in my head. I think they're all great fighters. Like you mentioned Babic. You know, I think he's dead exciting. I think, you know, he's raw, and people like to see that. He's entertaining. But obviously, if you're going to ask me, if someone asked me, you know, do you fancy your chances against him? I'd say every day and twice on a Friday. Do you know what I mean? So it's just one of them things. I'm confident in myself. I believe in myself. You know, sometimes it is frustrating for us guys. You know, as amateurs, we sometimes I do sit there and see the pros, and I see them getting this attention. I see people getting talked up a lot. It's not that I'm jealous. I won't say that's the word. It's just, you know, they're eating that pie, and I want my slice. I want all of it. Do you know what I mean? I want that, and no, I want to. Like I said, no disrespect to, you know, we're very fortunate to be in the position we are with GB and UK sport and being funded by the National Lottery. But, you know, I'm 29 years old now. You know, I want to start buying, you know, the nice houses, living the nicer life. I've done my apprenticeship, so it's time for me to, you know, step up and not just fulfill what I want to fulfill, but I want to earn good money as well. That, you know, anyone that says different, or they're in the game for anything different, they're lying to you, because if this game's so hard that if I wanted to go, if I didn't think I could go and earn life-changing money, I'd go and work in a factory in Burton-on-Trent, where I'm from. I'd go and work in the brewery or in Pirelli or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense, because you do get a lot of people saying I'm in it for just the glory. I'm in it for just the money. The glory's there, and that the money comes with the glory. So if you're going to have one, you're likely going to have both.
Don't get me wrong. I've got my achievements in my head, and if I achieve what I want to achieve, then I'll be set up. But I'm like I say, I'm a bit of an older guy. I'm 29 years old. I've got a family to think of, family to look after, and that's my first and foremost. Out of anything is to provide for that family, look after them. Everything else after that will be a bonus.
Love it. Gonna move on to some Dubois Joyce related stuff. I know you've sparred with both guys, and obviously you fought Joyce 4 or 5 times in the amateurs, notably in one of the ABA finals as well. Beforehand, I know you said to me, I think you predicted Joe Joyce. You'd sort of go in depth a little bit more about your prediction. Did you think there'd be a stoppage there? Did you think Joe would take him all the way?
Yeah, like I said, I had during that week, the fight week, Dubois and Joyce, I had loads of interviews, and I sort of sat on the fence a lot. But from the start, I'd always said Joyce, and then we got to America and was watching it, and I went around everyone on my Instagram. We watched it in this room here on a bad stream on the phone. So I did everyone's predictions, and like I said, I went Joyce. I always felt the experience would be a bit too much, and I feel like he was probably a bit underrated, and his chin was a bit underrated. So I think, but before that, I think Daniel gave a very, very, very good account of himself. For such a young man to get in there and get what round was that? Was it round 10?
10 or 11, I believe 10. Yeah, 10 or one of the late.
There's no shame at all for anyone going 10 rounds with Joe Joyce, because, like I say, he's one of the most deceiving fighters on the planet. He's a difficult man to get a win over. And even though, Daniel's a big puncher, like I say, I won't say that, I'm the biggest puncher going, but I've hit Joe clean on the whiskers a few times, and, he's come punching back. So I knew it was going to be difficult for anyone to stop him. So like I said, I think Joe did incredibly well, and I hope he gets the credit he deserves, because, I feel like if he was brash and he spoke a lot out, he spoke out loud, and he was this big personality, then I feel like he'd have a lot more people giving him credit, because he's not that person, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just the way he is. Because he's not that person, I feel like he's probably getting a little bit mugged off by a few people, and I feel like people should probably give him the credit he deserves. Not only has he won a handful of medals for his country, Olympic silver, world bronze, Commonwealth gold, European medals. He's also then gone into the pros, and he's beat the guy, to be honest, who people were talking up like he's unbeatable. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like Joe should get a bit more credit.
Yeah, and I feel like the credit is slowly trickling through, and I suppose we're going to see that mirrored with Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard. I feel like it's slowly trickling through as people lay off Daniel a little bit. What did you make of the, I suppose, backlash that Daniel faced? I think it was Adam Booth who said it's like a hot needle piercing your eye every time, and I know Daniel has said it's like being stabbed in the eye or whatever. Horrific looking injury, horrific feeling injury, I imagine, for Daniel. But what do you make sort of the backlash of the whole quit, put in brackets?
I mean, it's a difficult one, because like we were sitting here with the lads, and everyone was saying you naturally say, what, I haven't got that in me. I'll never give up. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. Until you're faced with them in that position, I think it's difficult to say so. Them jabs off Joe, and then you got to remember these small gloves with your taped up hands. It's like a rocket in the face. And, like I say, now we've heard more about the injury. It's probably a little bit more impressive that he carried on for as long as he did with the one eye. It's just the way it sort of it looked at first. At first glimpse, it looked like, oh my God, because he got back up. If he was completely out, you'd think, what, he done his best, but he got knocked out by a big shot. But it just says how much pain he must have been in, because he's a proud person. I'm sure he is. I know Daniel. I know his sister, and I can sort of, you get a sort of an idea of the family and what they're like. They're proud people. So he must have been in some pain to stop down.
Yeah, no, I feel like there'll be a lot of people who echo your words. Now we know that the extent of Daniel's injuries, but basically, just don't want to go over it too much. But you feel like from what you first saw, you can perhaps understand why even people on the panel, I think Carl Frampton that night and David Hay, I think David Hay's even apologised since, but you can understand why at first people might go, well, he hasn't got the medal for this.
Yeah, you know, that's just obviously you can just go on what you're looking at, you know, what's in front of you, and you know, we're not medical, you know, experts. I'm not a medical expert, but you know, what it looked like was he had one eye, you know, the other eye was swollen up. He was getting caught on it. It's gonna hurt, you know. This is heavyweight boxing. It's gonna hurt. So I expected him to know, you know, this is gonna hurt. I'm gonna get through it. But then now you learn the extent of the injury. You know, a lot of people are saying it's one of the smart, you know, giving him credit, saying, you know what, it's a very, very smart thing which he's done. Only he will know that, you know. But like I say, if it was career threatening, then which it looks like it could have been, then you know you got to say, you know what, he's not as Daniel's another one, because he hasn't got the huge massive personality. He's probably given a bit less credit than he's given a lot of credit still, but. You know, this decision which he's done there, you know, if it was someone else that would have gone down and done it, you know, they would have been passed off as a genius stroke. I feel like because he's, you know, he doesn't say much and he hasn't said much since, he's probably not given the credit for saving his career, which, you know, is a good thing. But ultimately, you know, I just thought with the way that the fight was talked up, you know, they both said a lot. I feel like Joe sort of carried his side of what he said out, and Daniel just didn't deliver quite as much as I thought he was going to give. But when I do think about it, it's a very young man, unbelievable puncher, unbelievable future ahead of him. Just, I think, you know, for Daniel, it's time to sort of, you know, regroup, go back, you know, heal up, go back to the gym. Get the good people around you, and you know, it's a learning process, and I'm sure, I'm almost positive he's going to be a better fighter from this fight, definitely.
Is it time we started putting some respect on people's names who've been involved with the GB squad, been involved in these national squads? I mean, happened with Lyndon the week after, almost a repeat of not boxer versus puncher, but you know, someone with the amateur pedigree and someone who's perhaps a little bit raw, been a novice at amateur level. Is it time we put some respect on him? I think Lyndon was 8-1. I think Joe for a stoppage was 10-1 at one point. Is it time we start putting our foot down and saying, look, no disrespect to these guys, monsters. So can you be expected at some of these results?
No, I don't want the bookies to do a thing about it. I want them to carry on doing exactly what they're doing, because they've paid for my Christmas. But this is another difficult one, because, like you say, just because you've been on the GB squad doesn't mean that you're going to be a fantastic pro. That's just the plain and simple of it is. You know, obviously, if you're at a good level, and like you say now, Lyndon, he's in a very good gym in Manchester. You know, he's trained by Pat Barrett, who obviously was a top pro. So, you know, he's learning. Even though he had good amateur pedigree, I'm sure he's added on from that. You know, in the last couple of years since he's been a pro. And learn more. So I think you've got to give a bit of credit to, you know, the fact that, you know, they've been international boxers, and it takes you around the world. You get that bit more experience and stuff. But at the same time, that's not always the case. So I think it's the individual fighter. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. Like I'd say, like I'll give you an example. Like Tom Stalker, for me, I've been on his squad a long time. For me, he was probably one of the best that, you know, in the amateur game. You're like he had it down to a T for me. And then as a pro, he was great, and I think he did well. But I would have expected him to go on. If I was judging him on his amateur experience, I would have expected Tom to be an undisputed world champion. Do you know what I mean? So it's not always the case. Not always the good amateurs make the good pros. But what I will say is, if you've done your apprenticeship and you've done your time at elite level as an amateur, you know, you've been even in the elite nationals, and then you've had the opportunity to go and box for your country around the world. I feel like you only have to look back in history at some of the world champions, and you know they've all done that. You know, you go back to, like, you know, your Mayweathers, your Roy Jones, your De La Hoyas, to your Lennox Lewis's, Anthony Joshua's, and everyone else. You know, these guys, they've all been at the top of the tree as an amateur.
Yeah, because I saw a picture the other day of Mark Breland, who's obviously come under a lot of stick after the whole Fury Wilder thing, and one of the Olympic teams he was involved with had just an insane amount of American talent. So I do feel where you're coming from. don't want to keep you too long, Fraser. Just finally, map out the perfect, let's say 2 years, Frazer Clarke. I can imagine it goes Olympics, Olympic gold, perfect professional career, but it's never that simple. Map out the next couple of years for me. What can we expect? Because I know there's a lot of people excited about it.
Yeah, it never is that simple, but first and foremost, like, and this is genuine truth. I just want to, with all this stuff that's going on in the world, I just need a healthy me, a happy me, a happy family. That's the first and that's the most important thing. And then, the Olympics, it means a lot to me. Qualify, go to the Olympics, give a great account of myself, represent the country, win the gold medal. That'd be perfect. Then, obviously, probably after that, I owe my family a little bit of time. Definitely owe them a bit of time because I don't get a lot of it at the minute. Maybe a nice holiday with the family. I'd have another little son or daughter by then as well. So definitely spend some time with them. Then we go into the pros. I'm not sure how it's going to map out yet, but I want to be boxing for titles after probably, after 5 fights. And I know that once again, people say, "Oh, yeah, you're putting pressure on yourself," but I just believe in myself and believe the level I'm at. So, the British title first, and then, we'll do it the proper way. I want the arenas to be packed. I want the crowds. I want to be boxing in London 1 month, Sheffield the next month, Birmingham the next month, up to Newcastle, then to Liverpool, Manchester. I want to do the tour. Do you know what I mean? That's what I've always looked forward to for years. So I want the sport to get back on its feet with the fans, and I want me to be successful, my teammates to be successful, and then we'll go and enjoy it together.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free, impartial advice on all your debt.